Okay, so in this one we're going to cover the PMDG 777 and programming a radio panel and how to do it. So without further ado, let's hop into the sim and see what's happening. Alright, so here we are. We're climbing through 8,000 for flight level 340 in our United 777 on our way to Chicago O'Hare. Alright, so popping inside, and these are the radio panels that they have in the 777. First things first, notice the selector. When you're programming, is important to know what you've got it set to. Meaning that when I highlight this and click on it, I'm going to be programming, and you'll notice in the upper left the knob will change as we change the knob. So we want to set COM1 on the upper top and COM1 on the bottom. Now what's nice is once you've done all of this, you can copy it and then paste it to the lower one. So starting off with COM1, what you're going to notice right away is what's nice is this uses the standard radio items. So the standard radio that you download actually works. So the original SimConnect kind of standard default right off of the online snippet. So if I go online snippets and I go radio panel, you can download these. They actually work. The idea here, though, is let's walk through actually programming one to make our life easier. So yes, you could download it. Otherwise, each one of these items, there is a value for turning the inner knob. So on the knob, you have the inner knob, and then you have the outer knob. So the little knob inside versus the big knob, the outer knob. So we've got our standby frequency going by 0.025. So when we turn the knob, our standby is going to go up by 0.25 values and move it up nicely, and we see that value changing in the sim as well. So I see that in the sim, and I see that in the radio. And then we decrement the frequency. So if we look at this, right, this item, if I click on it, it is a COM1 tuner. So this is a standard sim event. So when I look at this, it is a data change action. So we're changing a data value. We are grabbing the SimConnect COM standby frequency for number 1. And so this is a data value. So select data definition. We're grabbing standby frequency 1. And we could have typed in COM space standby and it will sort. So if we were to have just typed in COM standby or ST, you'll see it makes life easier and sorts it for us. So now that we had that, we wanted to increment. So the operation value is increment, and then we're able to set our value. And so we chose 0.025 for the increment. And then we clicked OK for that value. And I'll just cancel for now. So we clicked OK. And then for the counterclockwise, same data value, but we chose the decrement. So we're going to decrease by 0.025. On the outer, we're going to increase by a value of 1. So the bigger outer knob that you see rotating is going to increase that frequency by 1. And what's nice about this is as that frequency increases, it's automatically going to wrap around on its own because the sim value can only increase by so much. So even though we're increasing by 1, same frequency increment by a whole, we don't actually put any limits on it because we don't need to. The limits are automatic in the sim. I mean, there's something to be said that technically an inner knob shouldn't wrap it around, meaning if I scroll this knob up, once we get to this value, it shouldn't have made the larger value switch. So normally in a real airplane radio, the the whole values don't increase when you spin around on the fractional value. And I'm pretty sure there's a few different ways of doing that. So instead of controlling the frequency, I think if we were to add an action and we were to do a send simulation event, and if we go looking for COM, so now we've got our COM events. So what you have here is you have the COM radio fraction increase. So if we, and that'll increment the COM by 25 kilohertz. So if we use this value instead and get rid of this, so now we're getting rid of changing the actual data. So now if we come down here, we add an action, send simulation event. There it is, send simulation event. And we go fraction decrease. So now we get rid of that, delete action, click OK. So now that we're doing a COM radio fraction increment event, so now what's happening, you see, we're still getting that 0.025 increment, but you'll notice the fractions are no longer causing the whole values to change their value. So this is really cool. It's of more use to us. And so what we're going to do is we're actually going to go ahead and set it up that way. So let's go ahead and change this guy. I'm going to delete that. We're going to add the action event. Where'd it go? Turn outer clockwise. Add action. Send simulation event. COM radio whole increase. And we'll get rid of that. Click OK. Come to this guy. Add an action. Whoops. Send simulation event. Whole decrease. And we are going to delete that value. And so now we're getting our values increasing and decreasing. We see it in the PMDG sim. The screen is updating. And so now we actually have a better radio control because it's more realistic. If I needed to go to 133.975, I could go this way and I wouldn't have had to come back over and toggle the holes around. Also helpful because that's not going to trip us over the 136 and wrap around to 118. It was going to stay on 136 the whole time no matter what. So definitely more useful. And what's nice about this is this leads us, and we're going to now save our radio panel. This leads us to making it easy to program and copy and paste. So now that we have this highlighted, we see all the events. I come over, and it's hard to see. We're going to copy all events. And then we're going to come here and we're going to paste all events. This will replace all events for lower section COM1, and we click OK, and now we have that new item. Our radio is controlling the way we want it to control. Do the same for COM2. So here we're going to come in, do the same thing, add an action, send simulation event. And now what we need to do is find COM2. Here it is, COM2, radio fraction increase. Click OK. We're going to delete that. Delete action. Click OK. And now we want to do the decrement, add action, send simulation event. And we're going to fraction decrease. Delete that action. Click OK. We're going to take the outer, add action, send simulation event. Select event, COM2, radio, whole, increase. And let's clear out. So we want the whole radio increase. Add action, send simulation event, and whole decrease. We'll get rid of that. Delete action. Click OK. So now we have our COM2 values. So that when we look at the COM2, now our COM2 values are increasing and decreasing, and away they go. For the left display, you'll notice we've got COM active frequency 2 is set, and the right display is displaying COM standby frequency 2. So if you look at that, if you were to add action, it automatically jumps into a data definition. So you can only display data on the displays, so it's smart. And so again, we chose the SimConnect COM standby frequency and then :2. So that's going to give us the 2 and gives us our frequency and the index. And over on the left, it's real nice because Connex explained it to you that its unit is megahertz. It's got an epsilon, the current value, so it even shows you what it's currently set at, so it's easy to figure out 135.85 frequency 2. So yeah, so that was nice. It's very easy. You can put any data value you want, which we're going to see a little bit later. And then the event button is the radio COM2 radio swap event. And yeah, that's pretty much all you have to do. So we're going to do the exact same thing. We are going to copy all events, and then we're going to come here, and we are going to paste all events. This will replace all for the lower COM2. Click OK, and so now our COM2s are all good. So when we go to our nav1s, right, we are going to see that the nav1 is the exact same item. And it's doing the same thing. So these are incrementing data values. And so we can go through and set them up. Go to the navigational radio. These are automatically put in. You can control them. So if we come in and we change to 113.2, it doesn't actually change the value of the nav radio, because the nav radio is automatically inserting it for you. So you don't really have to worry about nav1 and nav2 when it comes to this guy, because he doesn't care. Okay, so back down here, and we go to our radio page, and that's why we've never cared about those. The ADF is programmed as the ADF. On the right hand side, I put the fuel quantity center and divide by 1000 with a format of 00. So again, this was just something to use this display for. I mean, I don't even think I could get rid of the ADF if I wanted to. I could have all the fuels, but essentially I put the fuel quantity from the center tank, divide by 1000, and then this is the value, but I wanted the value displayed as 3 with a decimal. Yeah, and we were dividing it by 1000 so that it would move it up to about here. And so that's why you see 58.0 on there. That's the center fuel tank. It pumps out of the center first, and then when your center gets low, you got to make sure to turn off the pumps for the center so that the pumps stop pumping. Anyway, finally, we do have the DME and the DME values. It is pulling the nav DME, and then I've got DME speed, so showing this DME speed. Kind of doesn't really matter with those. I didn't really care, so I left it alone. I pretty much use this for COM 1 or COM 2 the whole time, so the bottom is usually on COM 2, and I'll also use the transponders. And I don't need the DMEs because I have my FIPS for showing me my DME. So for the transponder, the PMDG, I set the left screen. So the right screen is showing my transponder code. The left screen is showing the 777 transponder mode select. And that's this right here. So when it's in TARA, that's it's ID 4. 4 equals TARA. And so what I did was I made the inner knob increment transponder code by 1, and I made the reverse do it decrement by 1, so your standard 1. But I replaced the outer knob. And so with the outer knob, it's controlling the event TCAS mode. And so the TCAS mode, that's this. So your transponder, are you in standby, are you in TA only, or are you in TARA, so that way you get full TCAS. And so you use a mouse wheel to increment it up or down. So it's great. So TCAS mode, mouse wheel up for the increase event, and then 8192, which is mouse wheel down for the TCAS mode event. And again, those are events, so that again, when you would add an action, you would go to send simulation event, and it's a PMDG event. So we use the PMDG event, TCAS mode, mouse wheel down. And so that allows me to set what mode my transponder is operating in. So I can see I'm in mode 4, which mode 4 means I'm TARA. And then we're using the button, and that is the send command to change transponder digit marker to radio panel. So again, I can change each digit. This is just coming off of the standard events that Connex prints. So you'll notice this is a select command change transponder digit marker. So it just, that's one of the things he built into his control of it. So it's great. Simple, straightforward, and again, the transponder code you're using and that you're controlling, you'll notice that PMDG is using the standard SIM connect value for the transponder code. They didn't reuse something else. So, you know, that's pretty much everything for programming the radio panel. Now, the biggest problem that does happen, and we've seen it pop up a lot, is people will talk about how, for example, if I go to COM 2 here, right, and I change that COM value, and so I go to 132.85, and when I click that take, you'll notice it jumped back to 127.8. Even though I set it up, it's not actually taking, and it's because this has some intelligence related to the audio panel. So in this audio panel, each one of these knobs is a virtual volume control. Now, you can't actually adjust the volumes. It is what it is. So if I come in here and we come on to this, you'll notice there is no actually adjusting the volume. It's either on or off. But in real life, it's like a little mini audio mixer. You could tune each volume and set them at individual levels, which is really nice. But you can't control, so in SPAD, that changing that value is never going to take, because we're not listening to the second COM. So if I want to set the second COM frequency, I actually have to be listening to it. And so you'll notice I set up a switch that will enable listening to both, as well as I've got something set up that is going to press the mic. So if I want to talk on COM 2 or talk on COM 1. And it's very important. If that light is not lit up, then you're not going to be able to change this. Now that we have that light lit up, and we change the value, and we hit and we take it, you'll notice in the sim the PMDG radio does take. So that's the key, is this has to be lit, otherwise this isn't going to function. So what do we do in this sim, or in this setup? Alright, so I have a TPM module also, and I use these switches all the time for configuring audio events. I used it to control the standard audio panels. And my G1 button is a COM1, COM2 toggle, so normally you're selecting between COM1, COM2. The G2 button or switch was for the both mode. Switch has been programmed with a whole bunch of events. So switch up. So when the switch is up, right, I want to send PMDG event ACP Captain Mike VHF left. So what it's doing is it's pressing the left mouse button on the event ACP Captain Mike VHF left. So that's pressing that little black button that will enable the mic. And in doing that, I am enabling the mic, and so with that, it'll automatically put in that parameter value, so you don't have to worry about the value. Then I delay for 100 milliseconds, and then I send the event Captain Mike VHF left. And this is a release the left mouse button. This simulates the pressing it and then releasing the button, and that worked for me. So this is going to, when the switch is in the on state, it's going to set the audio up. And when it's in the down state, it's going to set it to VHF-R, which the R is this guy or COM 2. Yes, these can point to any of them, but essentially COM 1 is VHF left and COM 2 is VHF right. We've now got our values, and that's going to make sure that that is setting which mic we're talking on. Then what we've got here is when the switch is switched up. So when we put the switch into the up position, so it's moved into the up position, we are checking a bunch of values. So we're checking that the COM receiver switches 0 is unequal to 1. We're checking that the COM receiver switches is unequal to 3, 5, and 7. I forget why, but all of these things needed to be valid. And then what I was doing was making sure to click on the receiver value and make sure that the receiver value checks to make sure, and then it enables it if it's not enabled. Something similar for the when switched down. So when the switch is moved into the down position and these data values 4, 5, 6, and 7 are checked, this allows us to check COM receiver switches are unequal to 4 and 5 and 6 and 7. We will enable the right hand listen. So we're enabling our right hand listen. Works great. And then for the both, what I did was something similar, and it's checking values and then enabling the left. It's checking values and enabling the right when switching to the up position. So when switched into the down position, it's going to set just the VHF left. And when switched into the down position, it's going to check and it's going to turn off the VHF right. So this was kind of I mean, I'm mostly talking on one, right? And this just allowed me away. But you'll notice when I go to here, both are lit up. And if I turn this off, it's able to tell that when I have both off, it knows and it's smart enough. It's using those event conditions to check which values and then make sure that the radio panel kind of matches. I probably have to do a little bit more work, because when I switch here back to column 1 and my both switches off, I should have also set the right hand side to off. And even here when I'm switching between the two, I didn't properly toggle off the other side. So that's just something I've got to edit with some of those conditions. And so add here a few more event conditions that when I do switch it up, that it makes sure to turn off the listen on the other side if they're not in a both state. So with the radio panel, yeah, it's great. You can enable your radio to control the comms, COM 1, COM 2. They work just fine, but you have to also control those other values. Thanks for watching, and if there's anything, leave it in the comments, and I'll look to do a video specifically to that. Thanks for watching. Take care.